All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the behind-the-scenes director's cut edition of the Computer Action Show.
That's a good point.
We don't have a super high-quality video resolution-wise version of this video.
That's right,
we do
Chris.
have the ever-handy Jeremy behind the camera bringing up different things and showing you different stuff. So it's actually a pretty good video to watch, but it's not our highest quality one just because we don't have the resources.
We have multiple qualities, is what we do.
We are full of all different kinds
We're
of quality.
multi-quality.
So we're going to kick this bad mamma jamma off.
We are?
You ready?
Okay.
All right, let me read. Zeus, Z-U-S-E. How do you suppose that's pronounced?
Conrad Zeus? I don't know. I'm assuming it's just Zeus. That's what I've always called it.
And you got my web browser, okay, right?
Let me double check it, but
I think yes also.
I know yes now.
How's my level sound in your head?
Wait a minute.
Amazing or awesome?
Both. But actually, I have to fix one.
I haven't had cherry Pepsi in a long ass time. This is good. Hey, get this. $3 for a 12-pack at Costco. $3. 3 of them.
So, I picked up a couple of those 12-packs for Thanksgiving.
What kind?
Of
Of the Coke?
it was
yeah,
any variety of
yeah.
12-packs. Buy 2, get 3 free. QFC. I kid you not.
Whoa!
I mean, who does that? You buy 2, get 1 free. That's a good deal. Buy 2, get 3 free. 3 of them.
Oh, yeah! I didn't say anything. I didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
All right.
And I was not involved with the thing he said.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. I can see that heater. Do you care?
No, I don't care.
Okay. Audio is a go.
That's your part.
What are you talking about? Audio is a go.
You do this part. You do the part where you intro the show.
Oh, this is the Computer Action Show.
Yeah. I know. I was about to start. I
And
did the same thing.
just so everyone knows, while we were live, we are now on the front page of Ustream.tv.
Right on. All right, do your thing, man.
All right. Here we go. For those people joining us, are we recording the audio?
Everywhere.
And here we go. What episode is this? 9?
Yep.
All right. I have no idea what's going on, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 9 of the Computer Action Show. My name is Brian. With me, of course, is Chris.
Hey, Brian. This day in computer history, December 5th, 1941, Zeus completes the Zoo-3 machine. Now, what is this, Brian? Well, I'm glad you asked. Conrad Zeus completes his Z3 computer, the first program-controlled electromechanical digital computer. It followed in the footsteps of the Z1, the world's first binary digital computer. The Zeus was developed in 1938. Much of Zeus's work was destroyed, however, in World War II, although the Z4, the most popular, sophisticated machine of all of his creations, does survive.
So cool.
So this is in 1941 and was the first program-controlled electromechanical digital computer.
I want everyone think about that for a second. If you're super nerdy right now, let's just go on odds. You're probably around 30-ish, right? I mean, just going on odds. Some are younger, some are older. What that means is that machine, that program-controlled binary computer, was built
A little bonus for people
before
watching the video version. I got a
your
picture of it.
parents were born.
Now,
Before your parents, who are super old and ask you, what's a right click? Before your parents were even born,
point.
this computer was built by some
Yes.
crazy awesome guy.
and you know what's wild is, of course, you gotta wrap your head around this. No screen, right? No, lights is your output.
Yeah, which honestly makes it look cooler. It
It
makes it
looks like
makes it
something
look
from Star Trek.
Yeah, you're looking like Star Trek or original Battlestar Galactica or one of those really old, awesome sci-fi shows. I mean, as it should look.
Yeah, it's very cool. So that's a great little today in computer history. I thought
that's
we'd share
awesome.
that one.
Awesome.
It's technically happened yesterday, not on because we're recording this on the 6th. But you got to fudge it when something cool like that happens.
You know what's crazy? I mean, in a lot of ways, it reminds you of like the original Altair. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of difference between this and like an Altair. It's just that this was in the 40s and the Altair was in the 70s.
Yeah,
30
yeah.
years. Think about that.
Well, and
30
how sad
years
is like
later.
they don't have the original machine anymore because it
No,
was
it is
destroyed
sad.
in the war. I mean, that's such a shame. All right, moving on to a little more modern computing topics. I wanted to give a shout out to people about the Hackintosh build that I had mentioned last Computer Action Show.
Yep.
We just completed part 2 of the build where we got it up and running and booting. Put in a new CPU cooler in that sucker for the overclockability. In summary, pretty good results except for whatever reason right now it's not booting. I don't know why.
So pretty great result, except turning on. Except for turning on, it's working.
No,
it's
it
working pretty
turns
well.
on. The
No.
operating system just doesn't boot.
Yeah, you know what? Way to make a distinction there.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
Well, I want to make sure the blame is put squarely on where the blame should be put, is on the operating system. Though it did run for 2 weeks, great results, and all the details are in the video. You can find that over at youtube.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Part 1 is the assembly of the actual machine, and then the failing of it to boot. And then part 2 is how I got it to boot, and Brian helping me assemble the final cooling and stuff like that.
So if you want to build a machine that will only run for 3 weeks and then not boot, I follow along on Chris's video.
I think I must have installed something. There's a kernel panic about a driver crashing for my Logitech mouse, which that sounds ridiculous to me, but I don't know what's going on. So it's the nature of having a Hackintosh.
I know, man.
One more thing I want to mention before we move right along is we do now have the Computer Action Show iPhone application, and I just want to give people a little reminder about that guy because you can purchase that in the iTunes store.
Do we have a link to that on the website or anything yet?
We do, and it'll be at the bottom of the show notes too.
Okay.
And you can use that guy too. The nice thing about it is it lets you bypass Apple's limit where you can't download entire podcasts when you're on a cell network.
We are so sneaky.
I know, and then we're also throwing in exclusive video behind the scenes. There's a couple in there now, and there'll be a couple more in the next week.
Plus, inside the app, there's a little contact us. You hit a button in the app, and it automatically calls us.
Well, what we were thinking is we're going to start incorporating more and more call-ins. And what do you think of this idea, Brian? If we start getting a lot of call-ins using that iPhone application, we'll maybe start throwing the voicemails we don't get to at the end of the episode while the music is playing.
Ooh.
And play so people can play us out.
Look at you being fancy.
Right? Wouldn't that be
that's
fun? So I think we
fancy.
might try that.
That's fancy schmancy.
So definitely
I like
check
it.
out the Computer Action Show app in the iTunes store. And then if we get a lot of requests, we'll probably cook up something for the Android platform.
Well, that's terribly exciting.
I
know
know,
what else
right?
I find really exciting?
Oh, please tell me, Brian.
I find it exciting that we're sponsored by GoDaddy.
I do as well. Tell me a little bit about GoDaddy.com.
I just want to say this straight off the bat. As
Yes?
soon as I scroll up to it, there's
Straight
show
off the
notes
bat
here.
in a few bats.
I've done it. I've read this like 80 million times
I
now.
know.
This episode of the Computer Action Show is sponsored by GoDaddy.com, the world's largest web host and domain registrar. If you're ready to make you know what? I'm doing this terrible. GoDaddy shouldn't even pay us for this one.
Or pay us extra because we're saying their name so many times.
So many extra times. Yeah, actually, that's
and you do
really
love
good
that
point.
word registrar, so I wouldn't want to
Here we
rob you
go.
of that.
Registrar. If you're ready to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has got you covered. Domain name is as low as $1.99. That's $1.99. That's like $2 less than someone who charges $3.99.
That's less than a cup of coffee from Starbucks.
That's correct. Plus, world-class hosting with unlimited disk space and bandwidth, do-it-yourself website builders, dedicated servers, SSL certs, other variety of things, lots and lots of stuff. Plus, as a Computer Action Show viewer or listener, whichever one you are, enter promo code, let's go with Linux, LINUX, at checkout and save an additional 10% off any order at
10%.
all.
And if you want to go with their hosting, and I can personally vouch, I've used their hosting. We have a mirrored network that uses their hosting. I have a couple of side blogs that use their hosting. A couple of clients on there. Linux 20 will save you 20% off GoDaddy hosting.
LINUX 20.
You know what I want to say? That $1.99 domain registration fee, that made me think about Wendy's burgers. And have you had a Wendy's burger in the last couple of weeks? Jeremy, have you? Brian, have you?
No.
Their bacon is on a whole new level.
No. I have had their new bacon.
Isn't that really
It's
good?
incredible.
I know it, dude.
I had about a month ago. I went and had one. It was crazy.
Their Applewood smoked bacon.
Wait, I was telling you about this.
You were.
That's right.
And I'm like, well, I got to get down there and try it. They've essentially reinvented the Big Bacon Classic. They just call it something else.
They call it's like the Bacon Deluxe or something like that.
It's still delicious.
And their Baconator, which is still a great name for anything. Like you can make a car and call it the Baconator, and I think I would buy it.
I think I want anything. You know what? I got to start naming everything Baconator. All my computer host names are changing
everything
to Baconator 1, Baconator 2.
There will be nonstop naming conflicts on our network because everything is Baconator.
So, anyways, if you think about it, $1.99, that's cheaper than a Baconator. All right, so that's where I was going with that.
Is that what that whole thing was?
Well, no, I just, you guys want to get Wendy's after this? What's up?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. All right, Brian. Well, let's do the news.
Nice.
But seriously, it's good bacon. I'm not
That's
even
some of
kidding.
the best bacon.
I know it.
The home of bacon.
I mean, I just, like the other day, I had a client meeting that was timing just right around lunch, and I thought, I'm going to a long drive, swung through. I do Wendy's about I don't know. I hadn't done one of these in weeks.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Surprise.
We eat way too much
Like-
fast food.
I know. Well, it's nature, I think, of being in IT.
Is that what it
Any
is?
tech-related job, your
So
whole life just
I'll
gets
end up
phone.
I'll be like, I'll be working for like 6 hours. I'm like, crap, I haven't eaten yet.
Yep.
And I'll make a quick run to fast food, get back to my desk, and start
Totally
working
exactly the same boat. Plus, for me,
again. I gotta start like going out to lunch at like places that
That's-
have like
that's
salads
what we
or
do
something.
wrong. That's what we do wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just getting the stories. I'll be ready in just a sec.
White Castle. No, I cannot eat the White Castle. I can't handle it. Like there's like a White Castle is like fast food McDonald's burgers that jump the shark. Like it's just like they're tiny and they're weird. And I
Okay.
just can't handle it.
Ready?
What's new in the news this week?
Oh, right, Brian. Our top story on the news docket for this week. Google launches their alternative DNS resolver, the Google Public DNS service.
Oh, this can't end badly. Good.
Now, so if you're familiar with OpenDNS, it's essentially their take on that with a big emphasis on speed and performance. Google basically pitches this as, and this is a quote, "We believe that a faster DNS infrastructure could significantly improve the browsing experience for all web users.
I don't disagree with that. That's true.
To enhance DNS speed, but to also improve security and the validity of results, Google Public DNS is trying a few different approaches." And this is a service that's, I guess, what you would consider to be in beta or alpha, and it is probably an equivalent to OpenDNS, which is a pretty mature product out there that I've used.
Yep.
That lets you
OpenDNS
filter out some
is
bad
great.
sites and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, so is Google? I mean,
I
I don't
don't-
want to get on a Google bashing thing here, but
no,
Google's
see,
starting
now-
to really freak me out.
It is. It does. It feels like too much. You know what I mean?
It's like
I actually don't dislike this as like an option. Like if they're putting this out there and they're saying, you know what, we just feel like people aren't being able to hit our websites as fast as they could be.
Imagine
So
if-
if you use Google Apps a lot, use our DNS resolver. It'll be a little quicker for you.
Imagine if
That's great.
like
but,
imagine if Microsoft was a little more like Apple, and Microsoft made the Microsoft PC,
yeah,
and they had the 90% market share they have now,
right.
and they made the software stack and the hardware stack.
Yep.
Now Google is gonna owns web search. They own web search.
They
They're
do.
gonna own web advertising. They almost do now.
Yeah.
They're gonna own a lot of web apps. The whole
Yeah.
web app space is gonna be
Yeah.
owned by them. They're probably eventually gonna buy, Twitter or Facebook or something.
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
Now they're going to own the very core infrastructure to resolving names on the internet. It's basically they're going to pretty soon they're going to own the services, the software,
Yep.
and they're going to own the physical base layer, the name resolving, and then they're going to have Google Chrome OS. Google's going to own from top to bottom the internet. That's
everything,
the internet. at that
everything
point.
about the internet.
They've
yeah.
got Chrome, the web browser. They got Chrome OS. They've got their own name resolution. They want to replace HTTP with their own Speedy protocol.
Yep.
And then they have the search and the
Weird.
ad
That
platform.
weirds me out, by the way.
So that's a lot of things.
That's a lot of things. They have all your email. They have all your calendars. They have all your docs.
They have my credit card information because I have a Google checkout account.
Yep.
And they're making a push in the Google Medical Records link thing where they are going to be responsible for
Right.
indexing medical records so that different medical agencies can share amongst each other.
Yep.
And Google already knows everything I search for, and one of the for the example of one of the things like Google was helping people predict where swine flu. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
Predict where swine flu outbreaks would be by analyzing the trending searches. So when they would start seeing in Seattle, Washington, swine flu search trends tick up, they would say, all right, there's probably a pretty good chance that there's a swine flu outbreak. And they
People
literally
getting
had a
sick.
little animated red dot show up on a map to show infection. Crazy to my face.
It creeps me out.
The flip side,
I don't know.
with the exception of maybe Chrome OS, I'm still out on that. The flip side is, so far, all the stuff they're doing, I'm using it because it's good.
This is the problem.
That is the problem.
That's the major problem for me.
It is software that
Someone
software
in
services
the
that
chat room is just saying Google equals Cyberdyne, and that's absolutely
Skynet.
what it is.
work. They're Skynet.
Google is building Skynet.
They're building Skynet.
Well,
yeah.
Cyberdyne is.
Yeah. That's actually a perfect analogy. You're right.
That's what it
Because
is.
Yeah. I mean,
For a nerd, I'm afraid of Skynet.
We were-
as a nerd, I feel that that's probably going to happen because those first 2 movies were convincing.
I know.
and I'm fully on board with this right now.
And the thing is like I'm totally checked in. Like,
And I know Microsoft's not going to do it because they can't get their stuff together enough to do it.
Right.
I know Apple's not going to do it because honestly,
Same
if they
with them,
did,
really.
it would be really slow.
well, well,
Let's
they
be
just,
honest.
you know what? I think Apple is content to be a niche.
Yeah.
I think they're totally cool with that. But Google, like the internet is the great equalizer. And so, like, there's not like a price tier that you need to be able to afford to get into Google.
You know
There's
what?
not.
I
like
wouldn't.
a,
I
you
wouldn't
just
be
need the
surprised
cheapest access
if
possible.
all of a sudden there was like crazy amounts of violence going on around Google HQ and like CEOs just start like disappearing and
Yeah.
stuff because people from the future are coming back and taking them out.
This is the stuff. You know, there actually is a book out there about a advertising agency that essentially takes over the world. Did you also know that Google's going to start selling AdWords for TV for set-top to boxes?
Yeah.
Crazy, right? Now that said, again, we use Google AdWords.
Yeah.
These services are truly good. It's like
They are good services.
They get it.
So if they also have the DNS and people are starting to use like Google Voice.
And there's rumors. There's really strong rumors of an actually Google owned phone, not like the Droid,
No,
but
but
an
like
actual phone.
one that's branded and made
Yeah,
by them.
yeah.
So they own the OS that's running on a whole. That's too many things. That's just
Right?
too many. That's like more things that interact with me than Microsoft does. Even if I'm like running Windows on everything, there's still less total Microsoft
I
software and
agree.
services
I
that are
agree.
available to me than what Google has.
It's like in a weird way. You look at our audience. It's a totally different thing. Our audience is like totally engaged, totally awesome people. Like we say, you know, hey guys, can we do this? Can you click on this? Like we will send more clicks or we will send more traffic to a site than some of
Yeah.
the larger podcasts are that don't have as an engaged audience. It's the same kind of thing where just because you don't have 90% of the market, if you're in the right areas with the right audience,
Yeah.
with the right, in their case, users, you still affect people in a much more dramatic way. And you're totally right. There's not a single day goes by where I don't interact with some sort of Google product in a key essential way for my daily life.
Yeah.
But there will be weeks that go by where I don't use Windows.
Oh yeah,
So
easy. But yeah, I don't remember the last time I didn't go into Gmail or Google Docs.
or Google Voice. I use Google Voice every single day.
See, Google Voice I don't use quite as much, but like Gmail, I don't have Gmail not loaded ever. I always have Gmail up.
Same. I'm the same.
Oh man.
So now, has your opinion? We kind of got all up and uppity about the Chrome OS announcement last episode because
Yeah.
we thought, what's the big deal? It's a
Yeah.
web browser that's locked to a specific kind of hardware. Now, that's been the initial reaction. Things have the tides kind of started to go back into Google's favor since our last episode. People are starting to say, well, you know, for this class of device, and hey, you know, back in the 80s and the early 90s, DOS and Windows looked kind of ridiculous, and look at where they're at now. You know, they started small, but they got really big, and that's some of the parallels I've seen drawn. Like,
I gotta say one thing though. Back in the 80s, DOS and Windows didn't look ridiculous. People made fun of them because they felt like there was competing products with similar feature sets. What we're looking at here, this would be like back in the 80s, someone coming out with an operating system that required you to feed punch cards into your computer. This is coming out with a new system that has less features. So it's not like, you know, Windows 1.0 coming out and everyone's like, oh, look at that. This I can already do that on my Amiga. It's not like that. It's a significant step backwards in features.
No, I'm with you on that. I agree. It is a step back in features.
Yeah,
and
but
that's
actually, so the alternative DNS resolver from Google, just to be clear, I have no problem with it initially.
Yeah.
It just makes me, it's not like it's a required thing.
No.
But I have no issue with them providing it as a
The
service.
only
That's
fear
cool.
would be in that it becomes so big that it sort of becomes like the forced de facto standard.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, you kind of have that situation now in a sense with search. Like,
But so with DNS though, it's a little bit differently. I mean, you want your names to resolve quickly, you know.
yeah.
But
Well, that's just it. If it's quick, like I've been having,
if it's
I have
quick,
Verizon
maybe,
right now, and
maybe you'll use it.
I've had some problems with Verizon's DNS resolving speed, and I might.
But
I'm
see-
using OpenDNS now, but if they provide a really strong feature set,
But I don't I see that. That's one of those things. I don't see a wide variety of free DNS servers going away.
They already have all of my search info. They already have. I mean, what's the DNS? I mean,
They can map
They know I'm
the
going to all
IP
their
to
stuff.
the URL. They already know.
they already know I'm going to all their stuff.
They know everything I'm searching for. They tell me about it constantly. Oh, you were searching for this video game. I'm like,
Yep.
it weirds me out when I'll go into Gmail and across the top of Gmail, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
here's this price on this video game you want. Like, how'd you know that?
Yeah, I know.
And I had to stop for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I did search for that last week.
Yeah.
And it freaks me out for a minute because Google was reading my mind.
It's like Amazon's recommendation system only for everything.
And it's for the DNS side of things. You probably won't have to log into it, right?
No.
So it's not like, I think it's all right.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
All
I mean,
right.
a company can provide a cool
I gotta
service.
say, I thought you'd get all up in arms about it.
It would make me weird if they also struck a deal that said all the major ISPs are switching to it. Then I would be like, okay, well, wait a minute. Why are you doing that?
Right.
That's going to cost Google a ton of
But you
money.
could still always point your personal DNS to OpenDNS. You know, because you don't.
That's true. You don't have to use them. So,
Yeah.
it's easy to turn that off. It's not like it's a custom service that's
Right.
different. So it's all right.
All right, well, while we're on the topic of Google, going a little out of order from our show notes, I will give a mention that Google acquired the Gizmo 5 client. I think a lot of people have heard about that.
Yeah.
And one of the things they're going to do in this acquisition is they're canceling the Linux client for Gizmo 5. Now, this isn't a huge blow because if you have a SIP-compatible client, you can, through some hoops, configure it to work with Gizmo. But it's a little bit of a downer when a company buys a product and they discontinue the Linux version because I think we agree. If you've already got an existing product line, don't cancel.
Why
and
kill
what
it
really
off, yeah.
where it really bones people is if they already have prepaid credits. Because in Gizmo you could charge up your account so that way you can go make calls to landlines and it just deducts from the account. And so if you've gone and threw in a bunch of money in there, now you can't go download the Linux client. Like say if you read
That
the
is,
machine.
I'm not so cool with that.
Yeah. So no official word, I don't think, on the client where it's at. But the story I'll link to in the show notes does have a spot where somebody's dug up the Linux client from on the Gizmo site. It's not. There's no direct link anymore. But you can still find it.
But now this doesn't mean it's canceled, does it? It just means it's maybe not available right now. Maybe they're updating the Gizmo client.
Well, I guess what it was is that there was a confirmation posted on Gizmo's forum that Google will be discontinuing the Linux client. However, in order to go read the confirmation, you have to have a login to the forum because it's a protected thread, which I don't have. But according to the story, there was somebody brought it up, said, "Hey guys, WTF?" And so a Google employee or a Gizmo employee, which is now a Google employee, went in there and into that thread and said, "Yes, we are discontinuing the Linux client." Kind of a downer, but it's going to happen from time to time. And since it is based on the SIP protocol, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
No, and to be honest, I mean, most people I know on the Linux side of things actually use Skype. So
yeah, almost everybody I know.
Almost everyone seems to, yeah.
Now, next story on the news docket for this week. This I kind of thought might be vaporware. I never really truly expected to see this happen, but it was one of those things where you never know. Intel discontinues, let's say, they redefine Larrabee. Now, I don't know if a lot of people out there have heard about Larrabee, but so we're all familiar with the graphics chipset that'll come built into like a netbook or a low-end laptop, like the Intel GMA 950 or the Intel X series.
Man, the GMA is everywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
So Intel knew they needed to get the performance of their GPU up, and Intel, being an x86 processor company, felt that there was no reason they couldn't make a video card, a discrete video graphics card using Intel processors.
Sure.
Just put a lot of them on there.
Oh yeah, cram
Why
those
not,
suckers
right?
in. Heck
Who
yeah.
needs? Which I always thought, wait a minute. If you can take a bunch of Intel processors to make a video card and still sell it at video card prices, then you are way overcharging me for one processor. That was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, what the heck, guys? But I don't know if they were chopped down Intel processors or what. So, I mean, they were talking like teraflops of power on this thing.
I want that.
And so Intel's come out and said, that discrete graphics card based on Intel processors.
Yeah, not so much.
Turns out we're going to have to put the brakes on that, and we're still working on it, though, honest. But in the meantime, instead of making it a actual product that we release, here's a development kit that you can use to kind of get some of that same stuff just out of the desktop chip. It's kind of the same thing, right, guys?
Basically, they took the name of it, the code name Larrabee, and applied it to something completely different.
Yeah. A software development platform is the official word now, and it's not related to some of you who are on the cutting latest news of the upcoming Atom processors. Which, come on, the Atom CPU is rad, right? That's what's running this guy right here.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's a great little chip.
It's a good little chip.
The next generation of Atom processor is going to have a GPU and CPU on one chip. So that's going to mean the CPU and the GPU can communicate directly with each other. They don't have to send data over the relatively slow bus to feed information to each other. So you could see a significant boost in netbook graphics It's sort of like on par with the Ion processor, only cheaper
On
because
the
it's all going
NVIDIA
to be
side,
integrated
right.
and less power.
Okay.
This Larrabee change-up does not apply to that upcoming Atom CPU GPU combo thing. That was a separate deal.
Reading through the Larrabee thing, I couldn't actually figure out what the heck was going on.
Doesn't that happen all the time with Intel?
Yeah,
stuff?
it was just kind of, I don't know. I think it was just like pressy, releasey stuff. It's not really.
Well, they had some demo
Yeah.
units, but they're like these big, huge Herkin machines. Like you see behind. Don't pay no attention to the machine underneath the booth. Here's a slim little machine. Well,
Yeah,
no, it's not attached to the monitor. No,
little tiny shuttle thing on the desktop. Yeah,
exactly. That's
Yeah.
what they were doing at the trade shows. And they were showing some awesome ray tracing live demos that were really super impressive.
Sure.
But some people were saying 32 CPUs were inside that box. Which, it's crazy if you think about
That's
it.
ridiculous.
What a modern GPU is able to accomplish
Yeah.
because it's specifically designed for those types of calculations.
Yep.
And this kind of feeds back into whenever I get all uppity about open source drivers and the whole open source community is like, we don't want that NVIDIA binary driver in our kernel. I'm like, okay, I would prefer to be open source, but if it's closed source, I want it because this piece of equipment in my machine is extremely valuable, and I know I'm not
dude.
taking advantage of it. I think this really backs that up.
Oh, for sure.
So, and along those lines, the next story on the news docket for this week, Phronix. How do you pronounce these guys' names? The Phronix. The guys
I
that
think
always
it's
do.
Phronix. Yeah.
They always
Phronix.
do all of the really great benchmarks and stuff like that. Well,
Yeah, they do a
they
nice
did
job.
a driver survey of the Linux desktop, and one of the things not out yet, but kind of the preliminary results they're releasing
Jeez.
is the Open ATI driver. That open source ATI driver is substantially more popular than the closed sourced Catalyst ATI driver. So, but this is a
Wow.
fully functional ATI driver, though. This isn't
Yeah.
like reduced functionality. And this goes back to I need that functionality, but if I can go open source driver on my Linux
You
desktop,
will.
I'm going to do that.
For sure.
And this survey totally backs up what we've been saying on the show in that NVIDIA and ATI open source your crap and you'll get support from the community. There is a thriving community out there that has
though-
money to burn if you will just support them.
On the flip side of things, the NVIDIA binary driver, the
crushes
closed
it.
serve, is
Yeah.
the most
Yeah.
used
Yeah.
video driver.
Yeah, crushes it.
Period.
The-
like by double.
It's not even funny. The NVIDIA
It's
closed
insane.
source. But then again, NVIDIA has a much stronger footing on the Linux desktop because,
For
when-
a long
when
time,
we
it was the go-to.
when we
Yeah.
started Linux Action Show, we had this hatred for
Oh,
ATI.
yeah. Because it didn't work.
It
Because
didn't- it didn't
ATI
work.
cards, just as a general rule, didn't work on Linux desktops. So
This
you
chart's
had
actually-
to go
this-
NVIDIA.
This chart's actually pretty interesting. If for the folks in the video version, you'll get to see this guy, and you can see the different breakdown of the different drivers, and you just see the NVIDIA driver just towers above it. And it's interesting now. ATI is coming out with the open source driver, right?
Right.
NVIDIA does not have an answer for that, and the ATI 58 and 57 series graphics cards. Well, at least the 58 series are really substantially faster than anything NVIDIA has on the market right now.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, with an open source driver and an incredibly feature-rich graphics card, I wonder if we'll
at
see
this
that
point.
tide change.
Absolutely.
It'd
I
be
mean,
interesting.
it kind of has to at this point.
Well, no, but sometimes the wrong product just gets entrenched in a community or into a consumer base, and it just continues to be successful because it's become entrenched. Like you look at the iPod, for better or for worse, is just now the de facto MP3 player, unquestionably so, because it's become entrenched in the general consumer's mind. I wonder if NVIDIA is in that same state for the Linux user consumer. And
It could be.
regardless of what ATI is bringing to the table now, is it too
But I
late?
mean-
Did they wait too long?
But I mean, really, it doesn't really matter what the Linux user wants. It's just like it doesn't really matter what the Mac user wants. If the cards are selling really well on the Windows side, that's so much of the bulk of their sales.
Oh, yeah.
That's the chipset that's
for
going
sure.
to get more
And
R&D
Windows
and make
users-
a better card.
Windows users, I think, are well known for jumping, but I think Linux users tend to be a little more loyal to a product or a vendor that's been
Right.
supportive of them. So
Right. Though I do have to say, though, I still, on the NVIDIA side, I like that as a company, they put a lot of backing behind the Linux drivers.
they do. They really have
whereas
a
the
pretty
ATI
big-
really doesn't have a track record of that yet.
Yeah.
So,
Although the
or
open source
AMD,
driver is a
whatever you wanna
great
call it.
direction.
It's a
But
very
you're
great
right.
direction.
NVIDIA has a whole team working on the Linux driver. So, all right, Brian.
Yes.
Moving on to the next story on the news docket. Changing gears a bit. Apple asked for a permanent injunction against Pystar from selling future machines. Analysts report Pystar probably sold roughly around 768 machines.
I don't what the really only 768.
I don't know if I believe that. Now, this was an Apple hired analyst.
I
but
mean, there was so much press and advertising around
Right.
Pystar.
That's why
and
I
their
almost don't
prices
believe
were kind of
it
decent.
seems like they could have accidentally sold more machines than that.
That's what I was thinking.
You know what I mean? It's
And well, Pystar came out what was it, like a year ago, and they're like, yeah, over the next couple of years, we'll probably sell a few million units.
they did. That's what they
And
thought.
I was like,
They thought,
okay, how do you go from we'll probably sell a few million casually to we only sell about 700. Like,
They thought
you sold
they'd sell
700. I thought they'd sell about 7,000.
They thought they were going to sell. They thought they were on track to sell 12 million by 2011.
Man.
Now the thing is, so
Man,
this
they
was
got
an
boned.
this was an Apple hired analyst that got this number, this 768. But that said, you would think an Apple hired analyst would be, would want to make that number higher to show greater damages against their clients. That way, Apple
Honestly,
could sue them. For
There
more.
were review units out there. At a certain point, I almost feel like there had to be like 700 reviews going on.
I know, so I'm a little shaky on that number now.
I mean,
the
they
other
obviously
part
are
of
failing here. I mean, that's one thing.
You know, I
but
just went through the
that
process
number-
of building a Hackintosh, and I thought I took a look at what Pystar had to offer, just to look, just to make sure I was doing a full research. And the problem is the machines were a little expensive, not too expensive, but like maybe a couple $100 more than I thought they should have been. And I thought, I could build a better looking machine, and I'm pretty sure I can do all this. I don't need to buy it, and so I didn't. But if they had come out with a price point and a machine that I thought was really hot, I probably would have gone for it. Now, so what this injunction is basically Apple sued them for the ability to break OS X Leopard and put it on their machines. Apple has another lawsuit coming up for them against Snow Leopard. Totally separate deal.
And in
Now-
a different state or something like that.
In Florida, yeah. Although Apple wants to get it moved to California. Now, one thing that's interesting, though, is it looks like both parties have agreed that this injunction will not apply to the Rebel EFI bootloader. And
Interesting.
Apple uncovered documents from Pystar that said if that's ever happened, they already have a plan B in the queue where they're going to just offer open computers, no OS X option, but it just happens to be compatible with OS X. And
and
by
you can
the
just
way,
throw it on there.
you can download on your own. You can buy this blank machine, and you can, on your own, download this Rebel EFI thing, burn it to a disk, and install OS X.
Yeah, just coincidentally.
Accidentally happens to work fine.
And you know what? I would, if they came out and said, using that tactic, they only sold 1,000 machines, I would believe it. And I would believe it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with OS X preloaded, they only. I just don't.
Here's a little
I
interesting.
don't buy it.
Here's a little interesting bit of commentary that was that was made over on OS News by Tom, one of the authors over there. He said,
You mean thumb?
Tom, yeah.
Thumb.
He said the company sold 768 machines in about a year. In roughly the same time span, Apple, for 2009, Apple sold
Yeah.
768 machines every 40 minutes. So, obviously, Apple's going after Pystar for $2.1 million, which they're obviously not going to have, only selling that much,
Dude.
for basically doing what Apple's able to accomplish every 40 minutes.
Dude, if they only sold 768 machines, they're not going to have $2 to rub together. I mean, that's
No.
just not enough machines with a high enough margin to be able to come at it. I mean, because their prices weren't that high.
It's an interesting benchmark, though, to see what Apple will spend the legal trouble and time on and money.
I mean, because how?
Look at that. If Apple accomplishes that number every 40 minutes, these people cannot be making even a fractional dent. Yet they still found it within their. They still found it necessary to go after them.
Here's the thing. So, like, Microsoft hates it when people pirate their software.
Yeah.
But if, like, they found out that, oh my gosh, this is this company that is selling 768 computers,
Yeah.
and they're actually selling copies of our software. They're not stealing anything. They're just selling it, but they're using it in such a way that's not totally with our EULA. Microsoft would not give a crap. They'd be
That's
like
the thing, yeah.
totally fine with it.
They were legally. They were selling OS X. They weren't stealing it.
No, they weren't stealing anything. They were just reselling stuff
Yeah.
at full retail price. There was no weirdness there.
I know it. I know it.
It confuses the dickens out of me. I mean, Apple spent money.
Yeah, they
And-
do.
And if they found out that Pystar only sold 700 some odd machines, that means that they're not going to have enough money to reimburse Apple's legal expenses. So Apple's got to know that going into it, they're not going to get any money out
It's
of
got
this.
to be a precedent-setting maneuver. Plus, going into it, they don't know how many they did sell, and maybe looking at it from the outside, I would have thought that number to be much higher, maybe 3 times higher.
Maybe.
And so maybe that's what Apple looked at. But even still, at that number, you got to
Who
figure that
cares?
probably yeah.
Seriously.
I know it, dude. I know it. So,
Ah.
anyways, interesting story, and good to hear though that another dangerous clone maker is being shut down.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Then again, Steve Jobs hates clones. I mean,
know.
that was like, he came on board and he's like, no clones,
Yep,
no.
I
And
know.
as soon as he axed him at Apple,
Yeah.
right after he axed the Newton.
All right.
and
Moving
OpenDoc
on.
and other things I liked.
Next story on the news docket for this week. The next version of Ubuntu will ship with sans the GIMP editor. Giving up on the GIMP,
That's a good move.
Ubuntu is dropping the GIMP in version 10.04 of Ubuntu,
That's
right?
smart. Yeah.
So is that the next one?
Yeah.
10.04?
Yep,
Yeah,
10.04.
yep. And here's what they're doing instead. Now, they figured this is their take on it was Ubuntu is designed for kind of easy-to-use Linux, and they felt that it was probably GIMP was a little bit beyond their target audience, and so what they're doing instead is they're working with the FSpot guys to sort of beef
Yep.
up FSpot's editing abilities.
Right. I mean, because it's a consumer-oriented distro. I mean, this is actually, the GIMP guys came out and said this is good. This makes sense.
Well, yeah, the GIMP guys, basically the GIMP guys' take on it was, well, the GIMP is a pro tool.
Dude, they're like Photoshop. I
And you
mean,
can
why
still obviously install
why
it from the
would you
repo.
ship Windows or OS 10 with Photoshop?
Well, 'cause
no,
it's not free.
Well, but I mean, I'm just saying,
The
if it
flip
was
side would
free-
be, if you've got all these great free tools, ship the best of the best if you can do it.
Yeah. Well, no. It's more than ship the best of the best. It's like I need audio editing, but an Ardour is a great audio editor
Oh,
under
great
Linux.
point.
But
But you
why
come
would you?
with Audacity.
Why would you ship? No. It does, but he doesn't really even need either. You just need like a little sound recorder.
Yeah, okay.
For
I see what you're saying.
for the
Well,
consumer
and
desktop.
if you throw it on someone's machine who really just wants to edit up a quick photo, FSpot is going to be, they're going to load GIMP and they're going to be like, that's
Yeah,
the brain.
it's-
That's their
it's
brain
seriously,
making
it's
that
not
noise.
gonna go that well.
Their brain's going to make a
No,
noise.
someone in our chat room makes a really good point. Something like Paint.net on the Windows side would be much better fit in Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Basically, just a simple painting, doodling app is really what people would want in a consumer desktop. Most people don't need Photoshop or Illustrator or
interesting
Inkscape
enough,
or anything else.
FSpot, mono app.
Yeah.
Now, Paint.net is a .NET app, but it uses WinForms, right? So
Right.
It's not going to be
well,
but-
it actually should work on the mono side as well.
Well, they had to move that effing thing over, dude.
Well-
Paint.net is solid.
Paint.net is great. Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
doubt.
But FSpot is a mono app, so
Yep.
it sounds like Ubuntu's pretty much they're planting themselves behind the mono side of the camp,
Yeah,
and that's an interesting.
and they're going to be moving to Banshee, so
that's what they say.
that's what they say.
That fell through, but still kind
It's
of on the
still
table.
Seems like it's
but
still happening, and they still got Tomboy rocking out in there.
Yeah,
and,
it's just they're basically not shying away from mono,
Yeah.
and
well, it's not really Ubuntu that's doing it. It's GNOME. GNOME is planting
that's a good
itself
point.
on the mono side of things.
And along those same lines, the next story on our news docket for this week, Mono 2.5 for Android
Yeah.
is released.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of this? Huh? And what do you think? Mono on the Android, big deal? Not bad idea? Not a big deal at all? Who cares? What's your initial reaction? to
Hey, more options on more devices is good. I have no.
Slow?
What do you mean?
that? Is there a performance overhead with Mono?
Yes.
So is
Yeah,
it
absolutely. But there's
inappropriate to
already
have it on a phone?
there's already performance overhead with running
Java
Android apps
or-
because they're all Java anyway. So on this side, on the mono side of things, honestly, I don't see how it's going to be. I want to see some real world demonstrations of
Well,
it.
and this is a great
But
example.
it looks like it could be good.
This is a great example of where the Android open development system, where you can install things outside of repo, or the repo itself is just very accepting, or their store, I guess I should call it. This is having just this entire option to go to mono on a phone, where maybe it's something you want, maybe it's not, but maybe you just have a fleet of vehicles out there for people doing deliveries that all have an Android-based handset, and you just want to bang out a quick in-house application based on mono.
Yeah.
Now you can do that.
Yeah.
And that is just not an option you have on any other phone.
No.
BlackBerry, iPhone, whatever it is.
Well, you can do mono on iPhone.
Oh yeah, you can. Now, how
Yeah.
does that work though? Because it seems like, I guess you'd have to launch an app that launches an app. Or?
No. It's just the mono runtime is inside of an application.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can include it inside. All right.
Yeah.
So there's iPhone and Android, but I haven't heard of Android available on things like Symbian or Memo.
You mean mono on those other on
Yeah.
Symbian? Mono is available on Memo.
It is available on Memo.
Yeah, I haven't heard of mono on Symbian though.
Did you see that thing from Nokia that they're continuing to throw weight behind Symbian next
Yeah,
year?
S60 and
don't get
Memo
it.
still
Why don't-
are dueling it. Yeah,
Why don't they just throw all their weight behind Memo?
because
and
there's
go for it?
there's a lot of people that like Symbian, and there's a lot of Symbian
there?
users out there.
I know there's a lot of Symbian users, but that's just because there's a lot of Nokia phones.
But see, if you're a company and you come at it from the point of view of, I sell a bajillion Symbian phones, do you really want to risk it by saying no more Symbian phones?
Here's the thing.
You don't really want to do that.
Symbian
You want to
runtime
provide
on Mamo.
both.
Symbian runtime. Those phones. Look, those Symbian phones have like.
They tried that with the Palm OS
They have
side
like.
of things.
Yeah, I know, but those. But if you took a Palm OS emulator on the Pre, which doesn't the Pre do that? Like they fly now because the Pre is freaking fast compared to the old Palm devices. Well, those Symbian devices are like 80 megahertz devices.
No, I mean there's a Palm thing for the Mamo that's officially supported.
That's cool.
Well,
now why couldn't you just run the Symbian environment on Mamo?
I mean,
the new phones, the new devices are fast enough to do that.
You could, but I mean,
I say drop it and
don't
focus.
I'm
I just
okay
feel
with
like
it.
I feel like if Nokia has diverted attention between these two different things, and neither one's going to be able to be super strong. And it seems like Android and iPhone and BlackBerry are the three platforms, with iPhone and Android pulling ahead. And I just don't see where Symbian and I don't even see where they're in the top three. And by them continuing to divert attention between the two of them, I just see how they're just going to keep falling behind farther and farther and farther.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I mean, I really dig the Mamo devices, like the N900 is pip beyond words. What concerns me more is that in 2010, they've only said that they've announced, I think maybe 2 more Mamo devices in 2010.
Yeah, really?
2.
Well, at least we have Chrome OS.
I mean, but then again, iPhone was like, woo, with just 1.
That's true. You just got to have the right device. So
yeah,
that's a good point.
But then again, how do you compete with the likes of Droid? I mean, like the Droid phone comes along with running Android, and it looks so great.
I know.
And while Mamo may look a little bit snazzier even still,
I'd punch a hobo to get a Droid. I really would.
So would I.
Totally punch a hobo.
So would I. If a hobo was standing right in front of me right
Punch the
now,
crap
I would
out of him.
flip this table over and I would take him downtown.
Yeah, definitely.
I would pick him up, throw him over my shoulder, fireman style, and I would walk him all the way downtown, just so that I could beat him up with a bigger audience to make sure people knew that I deserved.
I do one of those
droid.
maneuvers where you take the knee and you crack him over the knee.
Oh yeah, the snapper, whatever that's called in wrestling.
This is for the droid. Oh.
That would be,
I'd totally do that.
You know what? I'd climb up on the little corner post, and I'd pile drive right down there, and then I'd get a droid.
That's right. That's how it works, right?
That's how it works.
I don't know what the magical powers of hobos, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Well, they're the only guys who have droids right now. I want that hobo's droid, and I want it bad.
All right. The last story on the news docket for this week is just kind of a little shout out. A great site was brought up to me by the creator on Twitter, and I wanted to give him a plug because I think it's a great initiative. And I know I've gotten a lot of requests to do it, so now that somebody else out there is doing it, I want to give them some love.
Yeah.
And that's Fosscast, free open source screencast over at fosscast.com. And he's got 14 episodes up there at the time of this show. And, the first one, incremental backups with RDiff, boom. New screen. The screen is a great tool to learn, especially if you need to remote into something and disconnect and come back to it.
Yeah, just handy.
Getting started with IP tables is a great thing to learn. Scripting, secure copy, sysdat, all this great stuff. And that's just first few episodes on his page.
Does a good
all
job.
All screencast style, available in OGG, Theora, full res QuickTime, or something that will play on an iPhone or iPod. So very cool, and you can find that over at fosscast.com.
Awesome.
All right, Brian. Well, that's all the news for this week. So I was thinking, since the Fedora reviews didn't work out for either one of us.
I've been running it.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I do.
Hey, Jeremy, how long was that last segment? Does it say?
12 minutes.
No.
No. Popped up an error message halfway through.
Oh, that sucks.
You might have lost some of it.
I don't have another copy of it.
Can you rip it out of that?
Do you know what a pain in the ass that would be? I'd have to. Oh man.
Oh man.
There.
Technological hurdles. The problems of doing a show
Between
are
having
hard.
my editing machine down.
The news usually runs about 30 minutes. So I'm guessing you lost half.
Dude, if I have to go get it at the Wirecast recording, that's going to be like the worst thing ever.
Should I stop Wirecast?
No. I mean, it's no difference. No. It's fine. It's cool. At least the news is fairly early in, so I don't have to wait for like 30 minutes to find it. So
you got half of it. So really, if the audio is just when we get half the news and the audio.
what kind of error was it?
It said something about frame rate dropping,
Oh, that laptop might not be fast enough.
but it was was also after I
Hardcore.
let it sit the whole time, so I'm thinking maybe the screensaver tried to load up because it's on here. There's a screensaver active.
If you put the mouse up in the corner, the far top corner.
Right?
No,
So Doorbell did the opposite of what I wanted him to do.
he doesn't know.
No, so up there, I think that disables the screensaver.
By the Apple.
Yeah. Maybe close the program and reopen.
Oh, yes, guys. Yes, yes. We are having technological issues. Technological.
I hope we got the whole thing. I
I,
really don't
hope
wanna-
we do, too. But if we don't, then the people here are the people with the stuff.
You know how much easier our life would be if we dropped the audio version, which I know we can't because it's still bigger, but it's kind of dumb. Our lives would be so much easier. I can say that because the only people hearing this are the video people because they're awesome. Yeah. I know.
Aww. Now the front of Ustream, instead of us, is people playing pool.
Not as cool.
Not
All right.
as cool, Ustream.
Let me know when you're ready.
Not as cool.
So should we talk about Fedora, or do you want to talk about Fedora? And I was thinking maybe we'd have a discussion on is the future of desktop Linux on mobile devices, like netbooks and Androids.
For both or either.
Why don't we do a little quick thing on our Fedora experience?
Yeah.
All right, Rands, I'm ready whenever you is.
Then we are going.
All right, Brian, I thought we'd try something here. We were going to do a Fedora review in this segment.
We tried.
Well, let's do a quick. Well, maybe we'll push that to next episode. Where are you at as far as your Fedora
So
review goes?
I've been running Fedora inside VMware for about a week and a half.
Okay.
I tried to get it running in VirtualBox.
That's what
could
I tried to
not. I had a lot of problems getting it running in VMware. No sound is working. Honestly, I've been having a hard time. It's the worst experience with Linux I've had in years.
So here's what happened to me: is I tried it in the
I just can't stop
latest VirtualBox version 3.1, and everything actually went good. I got a good. It was fast. It was really fast, and I ran the live CD installer. Were you using the live CD?
Yeah, use the live CD.
It's the first time I've ever done a live CD. I usually always did the traditional, went through the whole Anaconda installer. Live CD installer, ran through the installation, did like automatic partitioning. I just took all the defaults for the most part. I don't think I changed anything.
Yeah.
And rebooted, and I got a boot failure, like a device not like
Yeah, I got the
like a
same
boot,
thing.
like the bootloader started and then got an error.
I got the same thing.
So that might be like a compatibility issue with VirtualBox 3.1.
So I'm hoping that's all it is. I'm gonna put it. I haven't tried it on actual, bare metal yet. So I'm gonna try that this next week and actually put it on. I'm gonna put it on here in the little netbook again because this netbook runs everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's never had a problem with
Yep.
anything.
Yep, I'm gonna load it on
It's had
this
a few.
machine.
It had a few sound problems with the last version of Ubuntu, but otherwise it's been so good. Let's. I'm gonna give it a try outside of a
All
virtual
right.
machine and
And
see
you
how
got
it
it working
goes.
okay in VMware though, just sans
Just without
sans.
sound
And I'm gonna get it loaded on this machine that's just off to our to our
and without
left here.
any 3D acceleration.
Right. That's why I wanted to do it in VirtualBox
Yeah.
because I didn't have physical hardware to put it on at the time because I wasn't home, and I thought VirtualBox I'll get comp is. And that's
Right.
money.
That's what I wanted. Yeah, that's what I
so
wanted.
I'm going to load it on this machine. So next episode it'll be running on this machine that's just off to our
We'll
side.
give it. We'll give it a whirl.
We'll give it a
Honestly, other than the problems I've been having there, it hasn't been so bad.
Now I thought maybe we'd talk a little discussion topic in place of our Fedora review.
Oh my!
Something that's kind of been, I don't know if the term eating away at me is a good term, but it's definitely been on my mind. And what I'm kind of wondering what your thoughts are on is Linux's mainstream future, like for what's average everyday use
Yeah.
by general users, is it going to be on netbooks and devices like phones and tablets, and not on the desktop?
Yeah, probably.
You think so?
Yeah,
Do
it's
you,
just kind
do you think we've
yeah,
missed?
probably.
Do you think we've missed the window of opportunity for mainstream Linux desktop usage?
Hey, Chris.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it's sad.
This is a good discussion topic.
Well, because you're not having a discussion with me about it.
Well, no, I mean seriously. I mean, I'll have machines running, like Ubuntu and maybe
for
some
mainstream?
OpenSUSE, but for mainstream,
Do you feel like though there was a couple years ago where there was like a potential?
yeah, there was a shot. We had a shot at it.
do you think happened? What happened?
We dropped the ball.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of people who had the ball, to be honest with you. Like, the ball was only, like, Mark Shuttleworth, he was holding a ball for a while, and he's like, this is a pretty cool ball. I like how it looks. Oh, there's a logo on it. And then he put it down, and he forgot he ever held the ball. And then, like, the Red Hat guys are like, what's this, a ball? And then they were like, oh, look, a knife. Stab, 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 stab,
Oh
stab,
my
stab. And then they
gosh.
threw it in the
I
fireplace.
cannot believe you. Oh my god!
I'm just saying.
Why do you hate on those guys so
Well,
much?
no, it's like, okay, Novell, right?
Yeah.
So there's Novell, there's Red Hat, there's Canonical. I mean, let's be honest, those are the three players in desktop Linux.
Well, what about Mandriva?
What about
Yeah,
Mandriva?
right.
They don't have the market share.
Right.
I like Mandriva.
Yeah,
In fact,
same.
I like their product. I seem to like
Same
their
with
company.
Mint guys. I think they have a great product, but they don't have the big company behind them.
Well, I don't think, yeah, exactly. And really, Mint is just kind of enhanced Ubuntu in a lot of people's eyes anyway. So I look at those three players and I'm like, okay, Nokia. Novell is really making a run of it. They're pushing it in the enterprise space, and they've made success there.
Right.
They've made inroads there, but that's enterprise. That's not home user, so it doesn't really count. They haven't really made the inroads in education, which then leads to home desktop usage. Ubuntu has made a lot of inroads in pulling usage from Red Hat and from other Linux people.
yeah.
So it's consolidated Linux over here into the Ubuntu side of things. And that's great, but
I mean,
it hasn't
we've
really
seen some
expanded.
traction in schools and stuff, but it does seem like Linux's desktop market share, best estimates put around 1% right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, 2-3 years ago it was at 0.8%. So we've gotten
We've grown.
a couple of points.
Yeah. No,
But
and
at
honestly,
the same time,
honestly, that's significant 20% some odd growth. That's good.
that's good, except for you look at Apple and now you look at Windows 7's growth, and it's just like it's got booster rockets.
It does have booster rockets, but they have a lot of money that they can throw at this. There's a lot of marketing.
Well, that's the problem. That's why I think netbooks and handhelds are going to be the future, because there's a lot of companies with a lot of money that are going to push it on those platforms.
Yep, probably.
I'm
But
curious.
it's
Maybe we'll just leave it. Let's just leave it at that, and maybe people can tell us in the forum
or call in.
or call in. There's a couple different ways. You can hit
Yeah.
us up on Twitter. I'm twitter.com/ChrisLAS.
And I'm just Brian Lunduke.
He's Brian Lunduke. And then we've got the very fancy, always happening forum over at JupiterColony.com.
It really is fancy.
It
now
is,
that you
and
mention
that
it.
would be the ideal spot to let us know what your thoughts are on this topic. Because we'll start the conversation, and maybe you guys can pick it up and take it further from there and let us know what you think.
But I mean,
I'd be curious.
that really is the case. Like, if you think about what you get excited about, it's like the new Google phones or the Maimo
And
tablets
900.
and phones and all those sorts of things, and or like the new versions of the netbook OS.
And everybody was on the edge of their seat for Chrome OS. Everybody was waiting to see what would happen. Now, some
It's
of us
true.
are kind of like, what?
but
It's
but
a web
still,
browser that
it's got a lot
starts
of
real
excitement.
fast.
Yeah,
And so, anyways, finish up the conversation there if you can.
a web
and let us
browser
know what
that
you-
starts real fast.
What do you
we,
think?
We already have that with those fast boot BIOS things. It's like, who cares?
I hear you.
I don't want one of those either.
The splash tops and whatnot.
Like Splash Top is kind of cool. It's like a cool idea, but I don't actually want it. Like, if it was on this, I would do it once on video to show everyone what it was like.
Yeah.
And then I would never do it again.
I say let's do this. Let's leave it at that. Hear what people say, and let's do something we've never done before in the history of the show.
Oh,
Let's start wrapping up right now without a segment break. Let's just go for it. Let's just say we just told you how to get a hold of us, so it's a perfect time to do that.
I don't think we can do that.
I think we're going to do it. And I want to mention we also have
Wow.
our gear store where much of the stuff we use to produce this stuff is over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. You look up there, there's an R store or gear store, something like that.
When do I say that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast?
Right now. Go for it.
There, that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. All right.
Yeah, right. Good job,
I did
buddy.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
High fives, he's way up top. All right.
Nice.
All right, that felt weird.
Okay.
All right.
So
here we
anyways,
go.
that's kind of a new thing we're doing. I don't know.
Uh,
It feels a little weird, but I feel like I just want to try it. Like, why have a whole segment break?
Why do that?
Let's just do it.
Let's just go for it.
So, anyways, let us know what
We're
you think.
men.
And we'll one of the things we're doing more and more with the Computer Action Show is we have our bread and butter is in the listener audio versions, but we are working on video versions.
Yes, sir.
And those are getting better and better all the time. So always worth checking those out. We post those over on the show page with this
And
episode.
I do have one little surprise. I haven't told too many people about this, and I gave Chris a little teaser of it. But we've got T-shirts coming back.
yeah, buddy.
A lot of T-shirts
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
Linux T-shirts and other T-shirts.
Other nerdy, geeky type of-
T-shirts. I'm going to be honest with you. I have about 20 T-shirts that are already set up and ready to go. I think 12 of them are anti-Star Wars. So
Of course.
I just want to throw that out there. And at least one of them is both anti-Star Wars and pro-Linux at the same time. I'll leave that up to you guys to imagine how that'll work until you see it.
Nice.
That should appear over in our Jupiter Broadcasting store in the coming weeks.
We have some plans to kind of revamp that and hopefully make that a little nicer, but that's all kind of stuff we're working on behind the scenes as we get a chance to.
We're getting better and better.
There you have it. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Computer Action Show. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, let's do an intro. What do you say we do an intro?
Freaked me out there,
I
man.
know. I just thought, why?
I didn't know what was going
We just gave all
on.
the contact info. Why not just keep
Jeremy,
going?
did that freak you out?
Was that weird to your brain?
I don't know what you guys do anymore.
Yeah.
What do I call that segment? Outro?
Dude, we've done over like
Outro's
100
fine.
episodes.
I know.
And I've never done... What are you
It was
doing?
weird. It felt weird. But I just thought, why give all the contact info?
I'm just now getting to the point where I can say Computer Action Show without screwing up.
Why do all the contact info and then do a break and then we would have like this awkward, well, now we need to do the contact info. So I was like, well, we'll just keep going, I guess. This week on the Computer Action Show. So right now, for people that haven't watched before, I write up a little intro that Brian does. You might have heard the intro of the Computer Action Show before.
We do it once or twice.
Yeah. This week on the Computer Action Show, we debate if Google is now officially the Microsoft of
There's
the
stuff going on in the chat room
internet.
right now. Let's have the Good Morning Linux, the show, and every morning you guys get up
That's
and tell us
funny.
what's going on with Linux, like Kathy Lee and Hoda style. I don't have a clue what that means.
So there's like the Today Show and stuff.
What the hell is
It's like the
Kathy
Today
Lee
Show.
and Hoda?
Kathy Lee Gifford and some chick do the thing.
I just assumed he left a comma out. I'm like, who's Kathy Lee and Hoda? I don't know what's Hoda.
It's
what's
a
a
person.
Hoda?
She's a gal. I don't know who or what.
I didn't even realize Kathy Lee
I know I didn't either.
Gifford
Except for
was like still employed
I
or
had-
whatever.
I
I thought
flipped
didn't she
on-
do like the Regis Philbin show?
like a long time ago. Yeah, I flipped
I
on
don't know.
flipped
I
on the
never-
TV one morning, and there was what's her face and what's her face doing a thing on the TV.
Here's the thing. I don't really know about hip hop and whatnot. I don't stay up to date on current trends.
That's
Is what
not
I'm
hip
saying.
hop. That's TV.
Dude, I don't know. Is what I'm saying. Is I don't know. I stopped watching new TV when Battlestar Galactica took a bad turn.
Except for you just watched Dollhouse last night. And,
Dude, Dawes was good.
was it a new Dollhouse?
Two back-to-back episodes.
I looked on that TVNZB site. I didn't see anything.
Go watch Dollhouse.
I didn't
It's
see anything
on
on
the
TVNZB.
internet.
I downloaded.
Wasn't it on last
Universe.
night? It was on like 2 nights ago.
Yeah, that's when I looked.
Yeah, catch it on Hulu.
I'm gonna download the HD.
Just go to
high-res
Hulu,
copy.
man.
F Hulu. Why don't
F
why,
Hulu.
why would I do that when I can download a 720p MKV and watch it?
I don't know. But
Not
it's
that I would
on
do that.
Hulu,
I would not
so
do
you
that.
can just go watch
Do
it
not
there.
pirate TV. It's copyrighted material. You need to respect the law. No, I'm serious. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anybody here that does that? Assholes.
Wow. We're still recording.
Yes,
Yes.
but we're assholes.
Kids.
Would you stop kicking the
Kids,
light, dude?
cover your ears, kids. Yeah, so the plan is, for those of you watching this video on YouTube, this is going to be irrelevant information. But the plan is we're going to have some lunch now in a minute, and then we're going to come back and record Stoked,
Yeah.
the Star Trek Online podcast for the next generation. This is not your old generation Star Trek Online podcast from like years hence. It's not that.
I think they were before us. It's years whence.
That sounds years whence.
From whence we came.
From years whence. Oh, yeah, it would be. It just doesn't sound as good, does it? I'm going to stick with years hence.
But that's it.
Anti-hence?
Yes, unhence.
From years unhenced. That's better. There we go.
I don't like this one at all.
This intro?
Yeah,
Well, they can't all be massively.
dude, they all that attitude. That's not a computer action show attitude.
They have
This
to
is-
all be good.
This show has an exclamation mark at the end
Hardcore.
of it.
And you know what's crazy? And every time we say the name, we have to say the exclamation mark, man.
Is that why it's show?
Yep, you got it.
That's why that's
That little.
the what?
All right,
Computer action show.
tell me what you think of this steaming pile of dog crap that I wrote up.
All right, let me see what you got. Let me scoop my my mic over here briefly. All right, guys, you guys get ready for this awesome round.
What do you think is this? Is this total butt or shit?
This week of the Computer Action Show, we debate if Google is now officially the Microsoft of the Internet. It's not the Microsoft of the Internet,
If Google officially owns
the
internet?
big brother. The
Oh,
Cyberdyne of the
yeah.
Internet.
How do you spell dyne? D-Y-N-E? Yeah. Not with a 7?
We can put a 7 in there. Cyberdyne 7 and an E. We debate if Google is now officially the Cyberdyne of the interwebs. Intel redefines, quote unquote, their upcoming graphics card. Ubuntu drops the GIMP, and we go over how well the new open source ATI driver is doing. Then we kick off a discussion on the future of the Linux on the desktop. Okay.
What the? A future of Linux
On the desk. I just
How
said
about
it
the
stupid.
future of desktop Linux?
The future of desktop
Is that better?
Linux. Yeah, we can do that.
All right. And there's always a plus so much more. All right, Brian, I'm ready not to screw up whenever you are.
Alrighty. Are we recording, Big J?
Are you ready?
Dude, born ready.
Okay, then now.
This week on the Computer Action Show, we debate if Google is now officially the Cyberdyne of the Internet. Intel redefines their upcoming graphics card. Ubuntu drops the... I gotta do this over. My tense was wrong. I was feeling all screwy wooey. That was no good, ladies and gentlemen. I need to apologize to everyone and power up with the power of Wild Cherry Pepsi.
Great.
It's almost like someone put real cherries into my Wild Pepsi.
Ow, that was too loud. I was spanking my hand too loud. No, you got like bad hand. Bad hand.
You've gotten good at that since you had a kid. What are you doing to that boy?
Since I got a wife.
Oh, okay. Just as long as you're not beating the boy.
Nope.
All right, good.
Are you ready?
Why not? This week on the Computer Action Show, we debate if Google is now officially the Cyberdyne of the Internet. Intel redefines their upcoming graphics card. Ubuntu drops the GIMP. And we go over how well the new open source ATI driver is doing. Then we kick off a discussion on the future of desktop Linux, plus so much more. All this week on the Computer Action Show.
I think that was solid.
It was really hard with having Linux there right at the end. Not doing Linux action.
What is that doing on there? What is that doing on there, dude? What is that doing?
That's fantastic.
What the heck?
Way to go, big
Look
guy.
how far behind it is.
Yeah, the stream's lagging a lot. That's okay.
That's like 5 minutes ago.
I know, it was a little bit ago.
All right. So,
We had a segment named intro. Thank you. So this is opening.
yeah. All right. I'm going to run over there and help Jay.
Jesus loves Pepsi. That's great.
Help him
All right. All right, so they're getting all that stuff going. So,
It looks like Jesus is playing Civilization and just launched nukes.
it does look like that. Have we killed the recording?
No, yeah, we're. He's gonna set up the screen. Yeah, we gotta stop. Oh, you do gotta stop recording, don't we?
So
People say thanks for watching.
thanks for watching, everybody. And this was the behind the scenes look. Head on over to JupiterBroadcasting.com for the official videos.